And one other teacher retention program we have that we can talk about a little later perhaps is the T-Link program. That's an online program that's sponsored by Nick Taft, I'm sorry, and Microsoft, that's used again to accelerate the development of teachers. So those are some of the kinds of things that we're doing.
Thank you. Sounds like exciting times in teacher ed at the University of Memphis. Now, as we talk about the transition back into schools, we're going to go back to Stratford. Brenda, you've just recently gone through a round of interviews for potential teachers next year, trying to get a jump on those staffing needs before all of the good teachers get away, as we say. Tell us how you have incorporated your current teachers in this process and what roles they play.
Well, one of the things we've done in our interview teams, we have at least 2 members from the department where the teacher would be teaching to meet with us and interview our applicants. And just really recently we were interviewing a math teacher, and it was Miss Whitfield. I think you saw her in the video. She said to the applicant, now you're comfortable with collaborating because we share here now. You've got to be willing to open up. And so I thought that was really powerful for the department to be involved in the process. We also invited the teacher to come by to see the school in operation on a real day of school, because it can be challenging. And I think what we've learned in the process, it's most important that that we're really clear to the teachers of the challenges that they face before they sign up for something really they're not a good fit for. So we use an application procedure called the FIT model, when we really do our best to be sure we're hiring teachers that really are interested in working in urban schools and feel that that's a place that they can really make a difference, and that their teaching philosophy and classroom management or behavior philosophy matches what we do. So those are some of the key things that we're looking at.
So I think what I hear you saying critical is that although teachers coming in or teacher candidates coming in for an interview understand that they're coming into a challenging environment, that you also make sure they understand that they're coming into a supportive environment.
Exactly, that it is supportive. And I think this process helps even the teachers that are currently in the building have more ownership to the new teachers that come on staff, because hey, you helped me hire this person, you felt this would be a good member of our team. So I think they've already, we've made a hire in that department. They've already embraced her and started, talking with her, even though she won't be on our team until August. So I think that's a really powerful piece to get teachers involved.
Great. The relationship has already begun, even though she has not.
Right.
Great. And I'm going to stay with you, Brenda. We've talked about a lot of the things that you've done at Stratford High School, and you've done a lot to develop a collaborative culture there. You've built a team of educators, students, parents, and community members who are actively engaged in the school. What are your next steps, and what do you think is necessary to expand and sustain this momentum that you've started at Stratford that we saw here on the tape today, right, and that you all have talked about?
And I would definitely say that we're probably, we're definitely still in the beginning stages of this. Even though we've worked on this about 3 years, still, we're not where we definitely want to be, as far as that this is the culture that you find everywhere in the building. I think our next steps is to really move beyond the land of niceness. And niceness, when you're starting to collaborate, you don't really tell a teacher that this practice is really pathetic. In the land of niceness, you just kind of go on and allow that teacher. But I think our next steps, and I think the critical piece is that these educators have built a relationship with each other that as we grow, they're more comfortable in being transparent and being honest with each other about how what they do or do not do impacts student learning. And so that's, I would say, the next level that, we're already seeing that with these first 2 teams that are working collaboratively, but also now to move that in other areas of the building. We also have to do another thing, and I appreciate what Dr. Moats was saying here about, looking at data. Right now, we basically have an end-of-year test, so we have to have a lot more intermediate measures for teachers to be able to look at before we get to the end of the year. In our district, the math department has done a lot of work with developing benchmark tests so that we can benchmark every 6 weeks where our kids are with regards to moving to success for end of year. We've got to do that in those other areas. So teachers, you know, are clear. You know, there was a cute cartoon I saw the other day. It says that today I achieved unverifiable levels of excellence. You know, and that's what we often have is unverifiable levels of excellence. So we've really got to have some clear benchmarks and assessments that can show us whether or not kids are succeeding in the different areas. So I would say that's another step, and the district is really helping us with that, with the pacing guides and developing assessments. And we've implemented a new system called EduSoft where teachers are actually able to scan in different assessments and see what standards the students have not mastered yet. And that's a powerful tool as we continue to grow in that area.
Well, thank you, and that's a wonderful segue into our next question, which is for Star. Star, you're working with the small learning community with the grant that you have, with the high schools that you have. Would you talk a little bit about how this initiative is being supported by the school system to expand beyond the grant, whether we're talking expanding to higher ed or expanding vertically to the feeder schools, because we know that graduation from high school does not start at 9th grade. It's a K-8 issue, and everyone has to take ownership of it. So talk about how your Small Learning Communities grant is being supported by the district in terms of its expansion to other sites or other levels.
Well, I talked earlier about the MES teams and the freshman academies, but we're going past that. As we go into the 10th, 11th, and 12th grades, we'll be moving into what's called career thematic academies. So the MES team approach of teachers working together will be expanded to look more like what the IT model does at Stratford, where you will have larger groups of teachers working together in teams, which is going to cause more common planning. And that can be an issue, but that's what's going to help make it work. We're also looking at professional development in a different model, so that the teachers are put in a situation of professional development. And we've trained 125 teachers, and we have 70 more being trained in June, in a curriculum called Forward Partnership of Advanced Studies, and has teaching and learning pillars, because this is all about teaching and learning. And it is about how do you get students to get to that top of Bloom's taxonomy, where they're doing projects and it's performance-based. So it's teamwork, problem-solving, communication skills that come out of it, using all disciplines, math, science, English, and social studies. But it's also got a lot of real world in it. So we're looking at ways that we can put a lot of relevance into the professional development for teachers, so they see some real world applications that they can bring into the classroom, and also so that they can teach that to the students, and the students will be more engaged. So that's a model that we've used. And so we're looking at professional development being different than what we've seen as a traditional model, and that the teacher's being put in the same situation as the student. Because in one of the modules, we had a teacher who was running. She was given 5 minutes to finish what she had to do. So she had to run and do the technology. She had to come back, and I said, "It's going to be okay." She said, "Oh, I just know now what they feel like when I tell them you've got 2 minutes left." But, you know, so it's putting them in the same paradigm that the students feel. Then we're looking at the advisee program that we're implementing in the school, trying to move that down to the middle school level also with the teaming, and try to find a post-secondary institution that will work with us on articulation agreements and also on teacher education like you're talking about, because it is very true that if they're not taught that they're going to come into a different paradigm in the schools now, they're not going to be ready for that if everything they did in teacher education was a lecture form.
Thank you.